Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and one that is quite overdue, I'm not gonna lie. And that is using LR Beast Gohan, showcasing him against Red Zone Kid BUU. We do now have the final two stages of Supreme Magnificent Battle, and the main one being Stage 8 against Beast Gohan, which we've done both for. I've already recorded a few of the mission videos, which I'll upload soon. But now we can start really testing out some units against Beast Gohan as well. So instead of Fusion Zamasu going forward, it's probably going to be Kid BUU and Beast Gohan from Supreme Magnificent Battle. If the unit isn't good enough for that, I'll probably keep them against Fusion Zamasu. But if you're on, say, Beast's level, yeah, I'm probably just going to do videos against those two going forward, just to let you know. Also, we had a tweet last night regarding the August producers letter, which is going to cover more on the global in JP sync. So I think that's happening either tonight or, for me, early hours of the morning. So I'm going to have to kind of react to that tomorrow. But we're getting more information regarding the sync, which is good. So hopefully we actually get like a decent amount of information this time around, rather than just saying, oh, by the way, you're going to be getting some more information, because it's not far away. It's really not. Like, worldwide is literally, what, end of August, beginning of September? It's literally the 1st of August today. So hopefully we get a decent amount of information. I mean, especially with the Universe Survival Saga EZAs being moved, you know, with Golden Frieza and 17, and then the 17 and Universe 7 unit, and then Tech LR Jiren. We're literally getting those in like a week's time, I think. So considering they've been moved somewhat earlier than what we would have got them without the sync being a thing, hopefully we're getting some news regarding the units we're missing, such as LR Tech UI Goku, the LR Jiren. Toppo's literally coming next, so it kind of makes sense why they've been moved as well, to fit in with his celebration. And then also LR Cell Max. So hopefully we get word on that and how they're going to handle those missing units, whether they're going to be like one whole banner, whether they're just going to kind of squeeze everything in. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how they're going to handle this. But, as I said, back to the video at hand, which, as I said, is LR Beast Gohan versus Kid BUU. As I said, something that is long overdue. The friend one is Rainbow. This is something I actually want to test, because I'm adamant that he would be able to handle it, which is having a Beast Gohan in slot 3, because that's where Kid BUU always does his super attack. It's the final attack of turn 2. Having a Beast Gohan in slot 2, because I'm adamant with his entry buff, he'll be able to tank it. Not to mention as well, he gets the super attack first. So that's why I've got the friend one there, because he's rainbowed. That's why I actually let the video play out with both of these on the second rotation, because I wanted to see this happen. Because he's going to get a 30% defense raise on 18 key. If he hits an additional, that's another 30% defense. If he hits another one after that, that's another 30% defense. That's almost 100% extra defense, along with having guard, and a total of about 60% damage reduction. This super attack does like 2.2, 2.4 million. I know the second phase super is weaker, but it does like 2.2, 2.4 million. And majority of units in the game die to this super attack, apart from a handful, or a handful with an item active. I reckon Beast is one of the only few units in the entire game to be able to tank Kid BUU's super attack in this first phase that is supposed to kill you for, I'm not even going to say double digits. I'm going to say he's one of the only units that could probably tank it, like, very well, where you will not need to use an item. I mean, he's probably going to tank it for double digits. He might tank it for double digits. But even if he doesn't, as I said, there's not many units in the game that I think that can tank this super attack with no item active. I think there's only a couple, and obviously Beast is definitely one of them. But I actually wanted to test it, so I'm very curious. We've actually done quite a lot of damage, to be fair. But what's this going to do? Again, no item active. 46 damage. Again, no item. No item active. That's how good LR Beast is. I said 95% of the game dies to that super attack with no item active. I think he is one of the only units, if not the only unit, in the entire game that can tank that super attack and live. I'm going to pop a Whis. Nothing to do with Beast. Just because Piccolo does still need to finish building up. And he does have type disadvantage. I'm going to pop this just to pop this. Let's let him make an appearance. But I'm actually generally adamant he's one of the only units that can do that. Which is absurd. Absurd. So even though you're locked into the first phase, if you're running dual beasts and you have one of each on rotation, and you don't really want to use an item, or you don't want to take the risk with dodge units, you know, you don't want to use Easy 8 AGL UI, Strength UI, even Year 5 Gogeta Blue, just put Beast there. If it's an option, just put Beast there. You don't need to use an item. You don't need to, you know, worry about him dying. He'll tank one of the hardest super attacks in the game on Global. While Kid BUU might not be the strongest enemy on Global anymore, he still has one of the hardest super attacks in the whole game because of that first phase super attack that's supposed to kill you. He can tank it for double digits with no item. So, do it. Do it. As I said, I don't think there's any unit in the game that can do that aside from him. Maybe like one or two others, but I don't think there's a unit in the other unit in the game that can do that. That's absurd. That's actually dumb. That he's making one of the hardest super attacks in the game look like nothing. I was going to say, would he still be able to tank like that without all the extra defense from super in? But then I'm like, it's always in slot 3 anyway, and it's always the final attack, so you're going to super attack before that, so it doesn't really matter. But that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, considering you're locked into that first fight, it's kind of crazy that, you know, it's one of those where you're locked in for 2 turns. You have to survive. This phase is actually technically easier. Yes, he does buff his attack every time he gets hit, but this phase is technically easier, like base numbers wise, compared to the beginning. And it's funny because his name's literally Beast, but it's funny because it feels like Kid BUU's locked in with Beast Gohan rather than the other way around. Like, you're lucky you have so much going for you that you can't die on that phase unless you get nuked with a Chi Strat versus J3 Goku. Because otherwise, you could probably kill that phase. And again, no other unit really does that. Again, the only unit that does that in the game is literally Super Easy A SSJ3 Goku. And even then, you have to nuke with him. You have to bring nuking items. Like, if there was no restriction, if you weren't locked into that first phase, if that was actually, like, part of the fight, or if, like, again, say you swap the phases and that strength phase was the hardest phase and that was the second one, Beast could generally handle it. Like, he generally could handle it, which is the dumb thing. But again, that's just how good he is. That is just generally how good he is. Like, I can't keep saying it enough, but there's generally just not been a better release of a unit. I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, there are anniversaries, there are big Dokkan Fests that drop, LRs that drop, that are just generally that good and are kind of like must-haves. I mean, every anniversary is pretty much that. Like, you always want the anniversary units, right? But I don't think we've ever had a drop. I don't think we've ever had a release where a unit is such a must-have because of how much of a pushover he makes some of the strongest enemies in the game look compared to Beast Gohan. I don't think we've ever had a unit come in and dominate the game the way he has. Again, you could go all the way back to the first anniversary and say, oh, Super Gogeta, fair, but he broke the game. Again, the game's in an entirely different state now. I mean, no surprise, it's literally 8 years difference. And also, I did notice that Gohan's attacks are going to be nullified. Well, his standard 18 key without Piccolo will be nullified, which is kind of annoying because my one is the one without Piccolo, so I'm probably just going to do this. So that's jarring. His 12 key does actually hit though, and his 18 key with Piccolo also hits, but his 18 key without Piccolo doesn't actually hit Kid BUU, which is a little bit jarring considering if you're running 2, you're only going to have 1 Piccolo on the team and on 1 rotation at a time. So that's a little bit annoying because it means you're missing out on a ton of damage. How many turns deeper? We were on turn 5. They both appeared on turn 2. They should actually both still have their entry buff, so we're chilling. Now, while that is jarring, also Gohan's invincibility, if you will, because, I mean, I know he's not literally invincible, but considering how much he's tanking for against the hardest enemies in the game, which is literally double digits the majority of the time, literally even on supers. His invincibility, of course, it only lasts for how long his entry buff is. Like, I'm not saying after that and he gets like one shot and he's terrible. Obviously, that's not the case. But naturally, he does lose out on a ton of damage reduction. Although, after doing, what, 5 or more attacks or getting hit 8 or more times, which doesn't really take too long again when it comes to Red Zone and now Supreme Magnificent Battle, it isn't too tough to get that back. You do get 20% back. But then don't forget, the reason why he does kind of almost become invincible is because he has the entrance buff, he has the guard, he has the extra 20 that he gets naturally from his passive, and then he gets the extra 20 from doing 5 or more attacks or receiving 8 or more attacks in battle, which takes him to a total of 80% damage reduction with guard, which is why he'd make so many enemies in the game, including the strongest, look like absolute pushovers, is because he has so much damage reduction along with his guard. And then if any attacks are coming afterwards or super attacks coming after his super attacks, there's some extra defense involved in there as well. But it's mainly because of all that damage reduction and the guard as well. We are almost dead. That's not good. Once that entrance animation is gone, you're still left with, again, what, 40% damage reduction and guard, which is good. But then these like 2 million super attacks will start to catch him a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to get one shot. Definitely not. He will take a solid amount of damage, but compared to everyone else in this game, taking, I'm just estimating here, taking like between 100 to 300k from like a 2 million plus super attack is more than fine with me, because again, there's hardly any units in the game that can actually do that. So he does become less indestructible. Like he isn't invincible at all times. But still, tanking those kind of numbers, which not many units in the game can do, unless they dodge, nullify, or you have an item active. Gohan's doing this with no item. Which, you know, I know it's a big difference compared to the double digits we're seeing, and we're kind of used to seeing. Do I really use his active skill? I might use his active. Actually, entry buff might be gone. I'm going to use his active skill. Why not? Give him all that extra defense as well. And then there's also this, where he just gets a ton of extra defense along with the damage reduction and guard, and yeah, again, he just kind of becomes indestructible again for one turn. So again, while he's not really invincible, he's still tanking the hardest enemies in the game for way better than anyone else. So while it does feel like yeah, I kind of forgot about that already, but it's fine. Hopefully he gets the second additional so we actually do some like decent damage overall. So while it does feel like Gohan's pretty much invincible half the time, he can take some damage, right? He can. Naturally, it's going to happen. But not to a point where you're sitting there worried thinking, oh my god, Gohan's going to die. Gohan's going to die. Like, he's going to get me killed. No, not even close. And again, I don't think we've ever seen a unit drop who's that dominant upon release the way Beast Gohan has come into Dokkan for the 9th anniversary. Like, I generally don't think we've ever had a unit come in and be this dominant over the entire game. Like, I really don't. Like, you take him into Fusion Zamasu, which did I do? No, because I'm not taking units in there anymore. If I took him into Fusion Zamasu, it would be light work for him. The AoEs wouldn't do no damage to him. The normals do the same amount of the AoEs in the first phase. So again, super attack, he'll tank for double digits. And then he does big amounts of damage, which is exactly what you want for that first phase, so you can get in and out of it quickly, so you can avoid the AoEs doing a lot of damage. Then you move on to the second phase, and because Fusion Zamasu is so short, and Gohan is surrounded by big, heavy-hitting units, just like himself, you will still probably have his entrance buff. Maybe for like a turn, maybe 2, and then the friend one will definitely still have his. You then use that, or then you still have that active. Again, he has type advantage at that point. You're still not taking any damage, even though Zamasu does like 1.7 to 1.8 million on a super in that one. And then even if it runs out, even when it runs out, even though it's, again, a very short event, I don't really need to transform Broly. Gohan's done what he's needed to do. But even when it runs out, you still have guard, you still have 40% damage reduction, you still have type advantage. So even then, Gohan's probably tanking Zamasu more than fine, even on super attack. He might take a bit more than double digits, but nothing that's going to be like, oh my god, he's taking way too much, or I'm going to die, or he's going to get me killed. Nowhere near that. Especially if you get super attacked after he's super attacked, and he's got like a bit of extra defense from the 18 key, the additionals. He would generally dog walk him, and that's extremely short content. If you want to hop into a Mega Shenron, I mean, numbers wise, again, he just doesn't compete with Beast Gohan. But if you want to go a bit on the longer side, sure, his entrance animation is, his entrance buff is going to be long gone by then. Cool, that's fine. Again, he's still strolling through the event with guard, 40% damage reduction, the extra defense he gets from super attacks. Sure, he nullifies dodge in the beginning, but Gohan doesn't dodge. He wants to firm that damage, and that's why the entrance buff is going to be active. He's still doing the type of damage he's doing. You're still kind of racing through because of how much damage he's doing and how much damage other units on the team are doing, like EZA, AJLUI, SSBE, Blue Boys, etc., etc. And then even the AoEs, Gohan just has too much defensively for those AoEs to even affect him, whether it's the first set of AoEs or if it's the final phase AoEs. And then not only that as well, because it's a little bit more of a longer event, again, you're probably going to get through it a bit quicker naturally with the amount of damage you're doing. You then have him stacking the whole time. He only stacks on 18 key, but by the time you get there, he's going to be doing a bit more damage, which means, again, you're just melting a Mega Shenron's health bar even quicker. Like, there is so much going for this unit. And it's just literally what I'm saying in terms of, I don't think we've ever had a release this dominant. Like, he's taking a little bit of damage there, but that's fine. Again, this is after his entrance buff is gone. So I kind of expect him to take a little bit more. And then not to mention as well, at that point, he hasn't even got his extra defense at that point. Because he gets it when receiving an attack, which means the second attack will do double digits because then the 80% defense is applied. So if Kid Buu hit him one more time after that on a normal, it would have ended up doing double digits in the end because he would have got his extra defense from being hit. But like, no matter what, whether it's extremely short, longer, in the middle, which is kind of where Supreme Magnificent Battle is, like depending on the stage, Gohan is kind of built for it. And you don't really have too many units that have been released in Dokkan or even in the game right now that are literally built for any version of content. Short, long, like medium range. Gohan is that guy. He is that guy, pal. He is generally that good. But I finally got round to this. I need to make a couple more videos testing out some units, and then we need to start testing units out in Supreme Magnificent Battle. But let me know your thoughts overall of LR Beast Gohan now that we've kind of had a decent amount of time to really use them. What are your overall thoughts on them? I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and peace.